Okay, Carl, let's get ready.
The theme song for Wave Your Grades. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. Good afternoon and welcome once again to Wave Your Grades. My name is Carl Boyd, your civilian host of the program that is dedicated to troops and veterans and features serious scholars. We are privileged on today, Saturday, February 5th, to have some very special guests. And the person to whom our young people will be speaking, asking questions, interacting with is the Reverend Millis Doc Bass. We have online so far young people, Nicole Tevis, Nicole Ursery. Paris Holly is back with us, and we are looking forward to hearing from Valencia Broadus. Now, let me just say for our very special guest, the Reverend Millis Doc Bass. Thank you for being with us and welcome to Wave Your Grades.
Thank you for the invitation to share with you. I'm always excited to be where you are, Dr. Boyd. You always got something going on.
Well, you are very kind, but more going on than I is the goings on from those who are associated with attorney Valencia Broadus. I would like for these young ladies to introduce themselves to the Wave Your Grades program. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let us start with Nicole, one of the Nicoles. I see mute buttons all around. Oh, Nicole Ursery. Okay, we'll start with Nicole Ursery.
Yes, my name is Nicole, which y'all know that. And I go to De La Salle, and Miss V is one of my teachers that's teaching me how to invest in money and like how to get money and things like that.
That's fantastic, and that is a wonderful brief introduction. Nicole Tevis.
Hi, I'm Nicole Tevis.
I'm sorry, Tevis.
Sorry. I go to De La Salle, and Ms. V is also one of my teachers. She's helping me with finances and saving up for things in the future. That's really all.
That's outstanding. That's quite a bit. And Paris Holly is back with us. Paris, thank you for being with us, and please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paris Holly. I am an engineer by trade, a substitute teacher. I work with the Black Economic Union of Greater Kansas City. And yeah, I'm just here to give a little bit of insight this week.
And have been a very special guest on Wave Your Grades before. So thank you very, very, very much for being with us again. And for all of you, perhaps you saw Louis George Walker's chat note indicating that if you would like, I would certainly love to come on camera. That would be just great. It is not an obligation, but an invitation. Let me tell you how Reverend Millis Doc Bass, I would like to begin the program. It is with an apology. And let me tell you, where I'm coming from. Brother Lewis George Walker, April 10th, 2021. Brother Reverend Millis Doc Bass was our very special guest. And at that time, you will remember that we talked about Alvin Sykes. As a matter of fact, that was very close to Brother Sykes' services. Yeah. And you were such a wonderful guest. And not only did we talk about that, but let me tell you something else that you mentioned. You and I were talking about back in the 1980s, as it were. And Reverend Millis Doc Bass, tell me if you remember the SMART campaign.
I do. As a matter of fact, that was during the period when there was an anti-achievement ethic sweeping the nation. When young folks in school would rather have been popular than smart. And I think it was somewhere between you and I and probably a number of other colleagues. And I think Dr. Broadus took it up from there after I had to do other things. But what we launched was what was our theme? It's relevant to be intelligent. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, you always talked about the relevance of intelligence.
Yes. But we were a little sad that many of our young folks were forfeiting the opportunity to exhibit their intelligence. And they would rather have been popular than to have been smart. And so we just wanted to emphasize that. That was in the 80s, you said?
Yes, sir. That was in the late 80s. And let me just indicate that one of our colleagues, one of our friends, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, in fact, posed that question, to be popular or smart. But let me tell you why I said I wanted to begin with an apology. At that time, calling upon your expertise, you will recall now in our conversation of a couple of days ago, I indicated I did not realize that you were a veteran. And we have talked about many things, and this program, Wave Your Grade, is a program that features excellent students and honoring veterans. So on this occasion, I get an opportunity to straighten the record and say to all of us who are present this afternoon that Reverend Millis Doc Bass is indeed a veteran. So on that count, we thank you as well. And Sister Attorney, Dr. Reverend Valencia Broadus, has joined us. And the good thing, Attorney Broadus, is that you came in when Doc Bass was talking about the SMART campaign. So tell us about the origins of the SMART Club. Here is Valencia Broadus. And you are on mute right now, but thank you.
Thank you. I'm off mute now. I just want to say, Reverend Doc Bass, it is so good to see you. And everyone who knows about Doc Bass and I working together years ago is that he allowed me to be the mother of SMART. That makes him the father of SMART. So he started that so many 20-some years ago, Dr. Bass. We've been doing this SMART campaign. And so it's quite interesting make that happen. We have Dr. Doc Bass, you'll be excited. For 20 years, we've had young people, of course, doing great things to stay motivated and to stay in school, but also, sorry about that, but also we've had students that have, they've gone to college, they're in college, they have companies, they're doing great things, and they've been doing financial jeopardy competitions, they've been planning huge events for Curtis McClinton and others. They've just been doing some amazing stuff. And so I just wanted to make sure that as the father of this project, that we are doing well to take care of it. So you can join us soon to kind of see what's happening. And I thank our young people as well for kind of being with us. I'm at a restaurant in a meeting, so I apologize if it's loud, but I wanted to make sure I'm taking care of business. I got to make money so I can feed the kids. So the boys laughing, but we are. So I'm going to stop there for a moment, but I really want to say hello and also hello to our young leaders that, you know, have joined us today. I really, really, really appreciate them doing that.
Thank you so very, very much. And I'm prayerful that you will stay on with us, because I really want you to be a principal part of guiding the program. Reverend Bass.
Yes, I will for sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me invite all of the young people to engage the conversation with Minister Bass. Let me tell you what I observed on our April 10th program. I looked it back up just in preparation for today, that I noticed that it took me too long to get a question out, because it looked like every time I was asking a question, I was telling a story. So this time, I really want some interaction between Minister Bass and our other very special guests today. And one of the things I was intrigued with, in as much as this is Black History Month, was the relationship between Black history and Christianity. So, Reverend Bass, please get us started on that subject area.
Well, that's broad, it's deep, and it's wide. it's as expansive as you want to make it. You really can't go anywhere in Black history without talking about Christianity. The whole African diaspora started, if I might say so, with the wicked ideas of the Pope in, I would say it was about 1450 something, with the Discovery Doctrine. And they dispatched the Portuguese explorers and authorized them to ultimately enslave whoever was not a friend of Christ. And so if you were considered to be an enemy of Christ, ultimately you could be enslaved by, and so what we have now as part of African-American history is the African diaspora and the slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade, the Middle Passage, on and on and on. Where I pick up on this, when I was in seminary out in Virginia, I asked some of my colleagues who were fellow students there where the book was on the Black preacher. I know that some bits of history had been written about a Black preacher, but nothing exhaustive. There was nothing exhaustive. And so they couldn't tell me. So I said, well, I'll just write it. And so I took off a little time, I think it was about 2010, 11, and wrote, it took about 2 years to do it, Slave Ship to Pulpit, the rise and call of the Black preacher. That's significant because what we celebrate today, not only as Black history, but what we celebrate today as the African-American or the Black preacher cannot be celebrated without, we cannot talk about all of these achievements that the Black preacher has made, male and female, without talking about the backdrop and the background of that. And so what I endeavored to do for the month of February was divide it into 4 sections and write an article each week for 4 weeks related to that topic. And so my focus, first of all, was going to be ships, sharks, and suicide, to give a kind of a backdrop for what we really came out of. You don't have a Black preacher, you don't have the politicians, you don't have the educators, you don't have the phenomenal achievements that Black folk have made throughout Black history without that kind of backdrop. So I just wanted to take a little time and talk about that in an article to start it off. Some kind of glitch happened. I don't know what happened this week, but it wasn't not printed. And then for the second week, I was going to focus on what I call the first ladies. That is the first Black female preachers in American history, going back to the 17th, 18th century. So that should come out next week. I don't know if they're going to switch it around or what's going to happen, but that's been my focus, to kind of recapture, as a minister, as a preacher myself, recapture the history of the Black preacher and the phenomenal work that has been done, and just the depth of egregious activity that preceded the coming of the Black preacher.
Now, let me, once again, young ladies, I will preface my question with a story. Forgive the length of the question for Nicole and for Nicole. But it was just about February 14th, 1995 at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center when Brother Walker, it was at 55th in Cleveland. We had our Generation Rap Youth Advisory Council meetings every Monday. On this particular Monday, our young people came in, it was February 14th, and they were upset because of the lack of observation as it relates to Black History Month at their schools. And I would just like to find out from Nicole Titus and Nicole Ursery if you are satisfied with the coverage of Black history, and not necessarily only in the month of February, but how do you young ladies feel about how Black history is covered at De La Salle?
At De La Salle, we do have a class for a semester. It's Black history. It's called Black history. And really, we learned a lot in the class, and we did a lot of research. But I still think that we should have more educational classes for it, because it's not enough.
And Nicole Ursery.
So I haven't took the Black history class yet. So to me, I feel like it could be better at that school, because it's like if you get to take the class, you get to take it. If you don't, you don't. So if you don't, then you're not gonna really know about Black history like you should. And if you do, you're gonna know extra things that they did back in the day and how they lived and all that.
Paris Holly is an educator, and I think on our other program you mentioned your teaching, and I'm wondering whether or not you are satisfied with coverage in general or the opportunities before we ask Minister Bass to respond.
Good afternoon, everybody, and hi, Ms. B, since you're with us now. No, I'm personally not. I'm not necessarily pleased with the coverage of Black history. I think they try to simplify it, and they don't really educate you on what's really going on. And they're taking away more of our history as they go, depending on, what grade you're in and who is teaching you.
Let me, again, before Minister Bass responds, just ask Nicole Titus and Nicole Ursery what year in school you are.
I am a sophomore, which is 10th grade.
and Nicole Ursery.
I'm also in 10th grade.
So you are hearing from an educator, 2 10th graders, Minister Bass. Attorney Broadus, any comments to Doc Bass before he responds to their answers?
One of the things that I think is always interesting is that with our young leaders, as they're learning through whether it's elections or different events like George Floyd, they're learning more and more and more about things happening now that are similar to things I may have went through, others may have went through, and it's like history repeats itself, which is always interesting to me, that they're like, wow, this happens, to you all or to us. That's a big piece. But then also when it comes to as things happen, how do they cope with hope, faith, things looking like it don't matter, who's gonna help us? So those were my overarching thoughts as they were speaking. Like, we have a class, but we need to know more. Not these, they don't just need to know more. It's understanding how to cope with this. And we just had our session this morning on our Saturday call about stress. I think about the stress that our young people are going through all the time. These adverse childhood experiences that it's normalized. And so we talk about that quite a bit on some of the shows before Mr. Boyd. All this is normal. Miss Parrish and I, we talked about, kids getting, killed or committing suicide. Stuff is, someone else it happened, and it's just normal. And that's what I think of why all this is important. And ladies, I thank you all for really being on this morning to talk with us. I really do appreciate it a lot. So thank you for that. But that's my thought.
And we certainly appreciate it as well. Before we ask Sister Jamiria to tell us about Atlanta's Black Wall Street, we will let her know that Minister Bass is responding to our discussion on Black history. By the way, let me make this note, because we are seeing Louis George Walker, and I'm asking everybody to participate. He obviously knows that he can jump in at any time, but he is gracious enough, being the founder of KUAW.org, to produce for us and guide the program. But certainly Brother Walker will jump in at any time. But let me ask Minister Doc Bass to respond to what you've heard so far.
Well, I have these mixed emotions about the times we live in. And it won't be long before I'll be celebrating 3/4 of a century of being on this planet. And so I've had the opportunity, as you had, to see things go in a kind of a circular motion. We take 2 or 3 steps forward, a couple steps backward, and we see this pushback coming from mainstream American culture with whatever progress we tend to make. For example, there's a lot of fear in communities who don't even understand it, that Black history means that white students will be learning about critical race theory, or that the month of Black history will be spent in teaching critical race theory. It just stresses to me how circular this fight that we have, this vigorous, fight that we have to make progress in America. Like I said, with 2 steps forward and another backward. I think we make a lot of progress, and then at the same time, when you look at it in its full scope, it's taken 500 years just for American culture to recognize the validity of a Black presence. And so how much longer will it take is a question that I have. How much longer will it take for us to reach equity, parity, equality, and all those other things that we've been fighting for years? So Black history is an essential element of that, in my view, so that we can at least have an educational component that parallels the struggle that we engage in for equality, whether it be equality under the law, whether it be economic opportunity, educational opportunity, and so forth. It takes that long. And
yes,
so
sir.
and we have to remember, there's always another generation of politicians who end up in Congress, and a portion of them, sadly, end up pushing back on whatever progress we tend to make over the years.
But let me just say that when I hear you speak of the circular, and when I hear our sister attorney Valencia talk about things repeating, your mention of age, and I'm older than you, brings us to the cliche. If we forget our history, we are destined to repeat it. And we're looking at some of that repetition now. And as I ask our sister Jamiria to come in on the conversation, it is her helping us to understand, for instance, something that is as relevant as Black Wall Street, Atlanta, as opposed to Tulsa. And we would like for her to introduce herself now and speak to what we're talking about in her own way. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, everybody.
In her own
my name is Jamiria Stevenson. I don't have much information to share right now. I'm just in the beginnings of it, getting everything together, but next month I can definitely provide more information.
Ooh, that is so good, because that is something that we can definitely look forward to as you consider, even at a higher level, studies about our, I'm sorry, what did you say?
That wasn't me.
Oh, I see. Maybe, but.
And if you'd like, I can share a little bit of what she's going to be helping us to do, because she's graduating in a minute and she's going to be moving to Atlanta. Wow. And so that's the reason, as she's wanting to go and kind of venture out and learn all about it, that we asked her to help us with our Atlanta spring break trip that our De La Salle students are earning and going on. And so
I see in her own
together
way.
So she can explore Atlanta, because she's going to be an actress. Well, she is an actress. She's going to go there and be a bigger actress. So we have to make sure she's getting connected. So we're going to visit Tyler Perry Studios, and I visited Black Wall Street, so I came back and I told them all about it. But it's a way to make sure that our students, as they grow and they're ready to fly, we still have to help them to go visit the nest, so to speak. And she's going to Atlanta. She's going. So we got to get her there early enough and network with all the people helping us to plan that field trip for our De La Salle awesome students. So that's why we're just starting it, but she's the key person. She's going to lead us to that promised land so we can have some fun.
This is so very important. It takes me back to Reverend Bass and his phrase, the relevance of intelligence. Brother Walker, did I see you get ready to come in and say something? Okay. I would ask, as it relates to relevance, Minister Bass, hearing what Attorney Broadus is doing with the Smart Club, how would you fix that as, when I say fix, how would you relate that to the relevance of intelligence? It is certainly important. How do you see it?
Extremely important, because, you know, with every level of struggle, there are going to be pockets and skirmishes where we have to do things that will build someone in a particular area of expertise. You know, you mentioned that I was a veteran. I came along, my veteran experience, I was in the Vietnam era, part of the military. And my foundation in activism was during that period, because, you know, there was the Vietnam War and so on. And so all of those things come together as pockets of struggle and skirmishes that are a part of the overall struggle, Black history struggle in America. So whatever they are doing in Atlanta connects with what is going on, say, in Dallas, or what is going on in Kansas City. All of these are pockets of developmental struggles, whatever they are, intensified struggles for that matter, that are important as an overall struggle for progress in America.
And what years did you serve in Vietnam?
67 to 71, 67 to 70, yeah.
I see, okay. Let me.
So I was not a very faithful military man. I was more, I was more dedicated to the struggle than I was to, you know, being a good military soldier.
I will just say this to you as others are observing. I want to get them back in on the conversation, but our singing group, the Teachers Edition, sang with USO shows.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were in Vietnam, in Long Binh, there was something called LBJ. That was the Long Binh jail. Mm-hmm. And they did not let us perform because there were too many Black recruits that were part of that system, and they did not want to see those of us who were civilians from the world to visit that venue. But let me go back to our young students and substitute teacher and all. Here is a phrase that Reverend Millis Doc Bass might clarify for us, but I want to find out from any of you what you think this might mean. Ships, sharks, and suicide. That is a title that Reverend Bass has presented to us as it relates to Christianity and the Black experience. Ships, sharks, suicide. Would anyone venture to comment on that title? If not, I would like to go straight to Minister Bass. Talk about that for a moment.
Well, ships is just a short version of slave ships. And often when we try to approach Black history, some parts of it are extremely ugly. But I think that sometimes it's important for us to emphasize just how foul that whole Atlantic slave trade was. And so the reason I put the sharks in there is because they were a major part of what we call the Middle Passage, that we lost somewhere between 1.8 and maybe 2 million Africans just making the passage. And many of them were thrown overboard these ships. Many died in the hulls of these ships from diseases, malaria, dysentery, yellow fever, and so on. But many were just thrown overboard because of the rebellions and the struggle, the fights that ensued. And so suicide turned out to be, for many of our ancestors, a better way. They would rather have died, they said, in the belly of a shark than in the belly of those slave ships.
My
And you would
goodness.
hear some of my research, you would hear cries from the bowels of those slave ships, Yara, Yara, we are sick. And there were some other African terms that said, we are dying. But amidst those cries were the screams of the sisters who were being raped by the sailors who had joined those seagoing voyages for the sole purpose of having unlimited and unrestricted access to Black female bodies. So that's how, when you put all that together, it's a very anguishing, very foul experience that is kind of glossed over when we revisit Black history, particularly that part of the journey.
Now, Sister Broadus gives us reason to be optimistic, and an example of it has presented itself on this program today. You spoke about the direction in which Jamiria Stevens is going, and I'm sorry, Stevenson. I would like to ask Nicole and Nicole if you are already considering what your career might be, what direction you're going in, and what you're doing about your future. Nicole Tevis first.
I'm already starting what I want to do. I want to be a cosmetologist. I do hair now, and I do some nails. I'm gonna have my own business, and after I graduate high school, I'm gonna move on to cosmetology school.
Thank you, Nicole Ursery. Do you know already?
So I actually wanted to be a lawyer. So I'll be talking to Ms. V about that, like seeing how she can help me, because I know she's a lawyer. And but if that don't work out, I was just gonna be an influencer. I was just gonna like help model small businesses, like their clothes or anything they wanna promote. I was just gonna do that.
Wow. And Jamiria Stevenson, when we talk about your career, how do you put that as it relates to your aspirations?
Can you repeat
Get
that
some
one more
more information on the question, please?
Yes. I think that Sister Broadus said that you would be involved in theater in some capacity. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Now, how do you explain to us what your aspirations are near and far?
Oh, okay. Well, I really want to create stories that move people and that actually mean something. So as an actor, I don't want to just do any project. It has to have some type of weight. And that's what I keep thinking, because, you know, people will offer you all sorts of roles and stuff like that, but it's a certain niche that I want to be in. So if that answered it, I don't know if it did or not, but
yes, it is wonderful. I've got to bring Sister Broadus back in, because when I think back about in the 60s, as a matter of fact, 50s and 60s, when we talked about entertainment, a lot of people go in because they want to entertain or they want to earn money, but not having that sense of purpose that is inspirational to the rest of us. And when you hear Nicole Ursery talking about going into law, obviously being favorably influenced by Sister Broadus, and when you hear Sister Tevis talking about cosmetology, if she indeed knows how to do hair, then that makes me know that she knows how to plan ahead. But Sister Broadus, I know I don't need to ask how proud you are, but how do you feel about their viewpoint and the purpose for their viewpoint?
All three of these young ladies, there's three of the many that we have that they have some ideas of what they wanted. And we just come along and we help to do some dream pushing. You know what I mean? We just not like drug pushers, but we're pushers. We push motivation and dreaming and planning, and then connecting them to the people that can help them to make it happen. And so Miss Nicole Ursery already wanted to be an attorney. So I just keep reminding her, well, that's what I do. You want to come do an internship, blah, 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 blah. And then Miss Nicole Miss Nicole Tebbis, knowing that she does hair and she does nails. For example, Mr. Versey, he came in on Tuesday and reminded her, okay, we can help you get a shop if you're not already working. We're just here to keep pushing them to say, whatever you want, tell us and we will help you. But we got to keep telling them and keep not exposing them, but to keep putting them in front of people that can help them to make that happen. Miss Jamaria, I had the fortune of, she and I drove to St. Louis about 4 years ago, and because she wanted to act. She wanted to be in the top schools to act. And so I got her, I said, well, apply. And she said, well, no, I'm not good enough. They won't help me or whatever. We drove to St. Louis. That young lady, she performed her butt off and they chose her. And so just keep reminding these young people that if you tell us what you want, and if you work too, we will take you to that. But we got to know, and you have to work hard. And so all these three young ladies, they work hard. They show up, they show out, they represent, and I'm excited for them and want them to remember that we all will help them. And I think as the adults in the room, it's our role to just keep that dream alive in them and just remind them, we will help you. We will help you. And we can't let them give up, even when it gets hard. So that's that pushing. So
well, you know what, Reverend Doc Bass, you have to comment on this. Listen to what we are hearing, see what we are witnessing. The Reverend Doc Bass just talked in the Ship's Sharks Suicide about the atrocious kinds of experiences that Black women had to go through. And in 2022, when President Biden is considering the appointment to the Supreme Court of a Black female, Doc Bass, going back to what you have given us from an historical perspective, how encouraged are you that we are in the company of these young women today?
Who knows? I mean, there's just no way to tell how far they can be launched into their destinies. And I'm always proud when I can hear young people talking about what they want to do, and then there's some adult, alongside of them talking about assisting them or pushing them or encouraging them or providing some kind of support system to make that happen. I'm always excited and proud. When I think about the various positions they can ultimately be in if they keep going. We have a vice president. We've got potentially Supreme Court appointments. We have prosecutors. We got some major players all across the country who are in strong positions of influence and power, for that matter. We've got somebody that's going to ultimately end up pulling down the major player in the January 6th coup attempt. And so these people were being groomed, and they at some point in their careers or in their development were obviously supported by somebody who was in their ear about what they could do, how far they could go, and don't stop.
This is fantastic. Let me ask I'm looking at the photo, but I want to make sure, Brother Walker, are you with us?
Yes, I'm still here. I'm listening in.
All right. This is the part of the program where we talk about contact information. I would ask Brother Walker first to talk about KUAW.org, access to programming, things that are going on. And then Sister Valencia Broadus and Brother Reverend Bass, contact information for those who would avail themselves of what you do, starting with Brother Louis George Walker.
All right. Well, I'm glad to be with you today, and the young ladies that have been speaking have been fantastic. But first, let me say, you mentioned Alvin Sykes at the beginning, and I know with his passing, I didn't get to talk about it because I was just sitting here listening. But I do want to give all the praise to him, because Alvin was the guy that got me my first published photograph in Jet magazine.
Wow.
Because he looked me up, they were doing an article on him, and he said, I need some pictures. He said, Brother Walker. And I said, well, I don't think you want me to take them and stuff. I took the pictures, he sent them in. They had his picture in the article, and beside it, it said George Walker, as they label who the photographer was. So I always think of Alvin Sykes for stepping up and giving me that opportunity and stuff to be listed in Jet magazine. But that aside, you're listening to KUAW Radio, Kansas City's global community radio station, and we're on 24 hours a day in Kansas City. You can pick us up on the World Wide Web, on mytuner.com, on TuneIn, on Get Me Radio. We're on Roku. We're on Apple TV. We're on the Fire Stick. And when we broadcast live like this, you can get us on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. Just go into your computer, type KUAW Radio, and do a search, and you can pick us up. You can also go to our webpage, www.kuaw.org. We bring you the best of talk in Kansas City, and we get Kansas City out to the rest of the world. So keep listening to KUAW Radio, and thank you very much. Now,
and here again, this is Black History Month. And for all of our guests, just for a moment, Louis George Walker, if you would, here again, Black History, would you just indicate when you started with KUAW.org, how long it took, and when we consider that you are pretty much a one-man operation, we are experiencing living history this moment today. When did you start?
Well, I'd say that this started, and it started with the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, which I am a part of, that formed this radio station in partnership with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. So the Black Family Technology Awareness Association started in 2004. And we've been doing programs. We've got robotics teams. We work with young kids and families to get them involved in technology. And in doing so, we had an opportunity to get involved in broadcast, in radio. So that started in 2015. So we've actually been broadcasting since 2015 and still going strong right now. We have students that are on like today. We also have Raytown Middle School that does a show twice a month on Tuesday evenings here. And we're always looking, if young people want to get involved, if you want to do some broadcasting or learn what's going on behind the scenes. I know we have a lady on there that wants to be involved in theater and stuff. And there are people that are willing to work with you. There's a gentleman I was telling Mr. Boyd about over at Channel 9 television right now, that he's in charge of all of their digital broadcasting. It's a brother. And he's willing to share that type of information. So it's all about giving back to the community. So if you want to go into movies, get into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Sister Valencia Broadus, contact information, please.
You can reach us at 816-612-1083. That's my cell phone. Just text me and say, hi, we heard you on the radio. I'll text you back and we'll invite you over to come hang out with us. That's it. 816-612-1083.
Thank you. Thank you. Reverend Bass, please.
First of all, big props to Mr. Walker for being able to manage all of this technology and continue to take us into the new ages of technology. But having said that, you can Google any of us. All of us can be Googled. You can't mess with the computer without finding Carl Boyd, Valencia Brothers, George Walker, because you can be Googled. I found that out. So you can Google me. You can catch me on Facebook. I'm not on there that much, but you can catch me, and you can contact me with 804-869-7009. If you want to buy some books, or if you want whatever you want to do. I can be Googled.
Outstanding. I want to make sure as we come closer to the end of the program that for all of our guests, if there is a particular question you want to ask or a particular message you want to offer, please go right ahead. Anybody have a particular, yes. Oh, that was the restaurant. Go ahead, Valencia.
Oh, I'm sorry, cool. So I have, I want to share that our students, Mr. Cole and Mr. Cole, and some of the other students, they also are going to be going on a HBCU tour. And so I want to make sure that we're just kind of really sharing what they're doing. The BEU is sponsoring them because they are part of the De La Salle. They're going to be doing a financial Jeopardy again this year. They are our contestants, so we'll be letting y'all know. You have to come and cheer them on and stuff. But as part of that, they also will be getting ready to go on the HBCU tour because they are 10th graders. We're making sure we're getting them ready right now to see what's out there. ACTs required, grades required, what the colleges are expecting so that they can start now getting ready and not wait till their senior year. So again, I want to say just congrats to them for being in the positions to where De La Salle leadership recommended them for, these programs in Block 37. So they were recommended. They are some of the top ones there. So all we're doing is just adding on polish. They were already there. We're just in there kind of adding on and being mentors to them. So just want to make sure that they know that we already know you're great. We're just here to push you. And I know I feel like I'm cheerleading here, but just want y'all to know. We know.
Praise God.
Absolutely. We're watching.
Outstanding.
That allows us, Carl.
Yes.
I might, not to be create any fear or anything, but just to emphasize the point that with all the progress that we make, there's always this detraction on the side. And you know about the threats that were made against HBCUs, and that kind of emphasized the point that we were making. Continue to do what you do, Valencia, what you do, everybody keep fighting. But there's always going to be somebody in the background or somebody underground pushing back. Don't let that be a deterrent.
Thank you. Earlier, Sister Broadus, I had shown the title of my book, Morning Messages. And in the introduction to the book, I talk about this generation being the most courageous generation. And what I mean by that is not only is it dedicated in honor of veterans, but these young people have to be courageous today just to go to school. They have to be courageous enough. Doc Bass was talking about back in the day when it said you're acting white if you were scholarly. And sometimes young people have to be courageous enough to fight against peer pressure. They have to be courageous enough to be political pawns as people talk about the pandemic, and yet they are studying anyway. Nicole, Maria, you cannot know how proud we are and how appreciative we are of you. Please go ahead, Sister Broadus, you were going to say.
I was just going to say congratulations on your book.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, now here is a segment. I'm going to try to do it very quickly that I may be doing, Brother Walker, on an ongoing basis. Sister Broadus, this segment is called Make Your Birthday a Holiday. Make your birthday a holiday. Now, I want somebody to give me your birth date. It doesn't have to be the year. And then I'm going to holler from the book. which is a message for every day of the year. So if someone would give me your birthday, I'm going to
I'll
hop.
do it.
Oh,
July
what,
14th.
Nicole Tibbs?
July 14th.
July 14th. So what I do is look at the message for July 14th. If you don't take school seriously, when you take tests, you won't pass. If those who protect you fail their tests, they will unfortunately pass. In their honor, please take school seriously. That is to students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day. That was July 14th. So the holiday is, I just want to holler at you in honor of our troops. Everybody, thank you so much for today's program. And young ladies, I feel like we didn't give you enough of opportunities to talk. We want you to come back and hear more about what you're doing. Jamiria Stevenson, every time you come, you got something else that you're moving forward with. We are so proud and so appreciative. For all, this invitation is for your final word. Minister Doc Bass, please wait and allow the others, because I want you to wrap us up. Young ladies first. Last word, Jamiria.
Thank you for the support that you always give and for allowing me to be here today. So.
You are more than welcome. My honor. Nicole Ursery.
I want to say thank you for all the opportunities that I get received, and yeah, I'm appreciative for everything y'all do for the students. It's like y'all really care, y'all really want to see us win. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Praise God. Thank you. And Nicole Tibbs. I'm sorry, Tibbs.
I want to say thank you for inviting me to your show today. And thank you for the opportunity that I have been given. And thank you, Ms. V, for the opportunities you give us as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Brothers. I'm assuming that I don't see Paris Holly, so I think that she has gone.
Yeah, she was a little earlier. No, I just want to say really thank you to everybody. Brother Bass, it's always great to see you. And I read your articles in the Call Weekly, so I just want to let you know we see you there. And thank you for continuing, to and really enlighten us, seriously, on the spiritual levels. And young ladies, love y'all. And thank you for, coming to hang out. Appreciate it, because this is where you get the chance to shine and show everybody just how awesome you are, and we can hear what you're thinking. So I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
And you make this show. So thank you so much, Minister Bass.
Well, big props to you, Dr. Boyd, and Dr. Walker for making stuff like this happen. Sister Broadus, all of you are Black history. All together, you're Black. You're making stuff happen. That's all I can say. You just keep making stuff happen. It'll be on record. Somebody's life will be changed. And that is significant enough to make history as far as I'm concerned. Write the books, the songs, make stuff happen, get the grades, get the degrees, build the business, improve the technology. All of that is a part, in my view, of Black history. Keep on making it happen.
Praise the Lord. Thank you so very, very, very much to all who have been with us this afternoon. Jamiria Stevenson, Nicole Tibbs, Nicole Ursery, Attorney Valencia Broadus, Minister Doc Bass. To students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, February 5th. Their boots protect your books. Your books guide their boots. My name is Carl Boyd, gracious God and wonderful Wanda. I'm on my way home.